Yeah? Turn me up a little bit, my friend. I want to feel that boom. My balls should quake. Kevin Spacey, Swimming with Sharks.
Kevin Spacey's a total weirdo.
He is a weirdo. Swimming with Sharks, great movie. Folks, I am Trees. I am here with my friend
Kid Chronic.
This is Ruthless Politics. We took a little break. We celebrated so hard from our 10th episode, our anniversary, our diamond episode, and we partied so hard. We took a huge break. We're going to go into season 2. We're going to call it and kind of do every 10 shows. We'll call it a new season.
Season 2, episode 11.
Episode number 11, second season starting, and we're going to jump right in. We appreciate everybody that stayed on board. And we're going to be more active again, as you know.
There has been a lot of action since we've been partying and off the air.
There's a lot going on.
We got a lot to cover, folks.
Personally, politically, physically. This guy here went through some shit, I got to tell you.
I just had a surgery, man.
So proud of it.
I even
saw his little thingies right by his thingy.
I showed these guys my stitches.
Yeah,
it's
man.
Pretty cool.
Fuck yeah.
Stitches are cool.
Yeah, stitches get bitches. I got 2 right over my eye, baseball bat, and a coffee table when I was 5. Let's get into it. So what this our episode here we're gonna touch on, so everybody is aware. There's been a lot of news, as we know. But what's going on right now that's making the headlines is impeachment. Things are moving forward in that direction. Before we get to go over the list, we got impeachment. We got more of the 2020 candidates. Iowa's right around the corner. Things have definitely changed since the last time we broadcast in what's going on in the 2020 election. Katie Hill, a very fascinating, strange story about where people feel about privacy.
She shouldn't have
revenge
resigned.
Porn. Yeah,
should have stuck it out, Katie, you pussy.
Yeah, she probably could have. Got scared. Maybe there's some more she's trying to duck.
Fight
so
harder, Democrats. Fight harder.
Yeah, she bowed out. Another Al Franken just fucking going down.
Yeah, they so quick to jump ship. So quick to jump ship.
And we're gonna get into al-baghdadi. The ISIS leader is dead, and whatever else we got time for. So let's jump in. Impeachment. This is definitely up your alley. This is what you've been hoping for.
The elephant in the room. I've been waiting a long time to impeach this guy, and it's not as exciting as I hoped it'd be, to be honest with you.
Well, not
I wanted to just impeach him for the flat out being a Russian agent. Like, you know what I mean? For being a Russian asset. That's what I wanted to impeach him for. But this Ukraine thing, I guess I'll take. Whatever gets
I got a question for you. If Ukraine and Russia hate each other, and there's no ideology the same, they're literally at war, how is this guy getting help from Russia and getting help from Ukraine?
Well,
and is anybody wondering how that's possible?
It's a fascinating relationship. So you've got to go way back, and that is actually the birth of fake news, misinformation, and the Russian bot campaign. So Russia needed Ukraine because it's a port, and there's not a lot of ports in Russia that aren't frozen. So they really needed that, and it was broke apart of the old Soviet Union. So basically what Putin wanted to do is he wanted to annex Ukraine or take it over, and so that's when he started the misinformation campaign, and they started pumping with Ukraine with all sorts of Facebook posts and different stuff about how great it would be to be part of Russia again and how they should never have left Russia and they should still be part of Russia. So it made it so much easier when Putin rolled the tanks into Ukraine because the Ukrainian people, a lot of them were on his side, so the government couldn't really defend against the annexation, and it was kind of a power play. Then Putin realized that he had so much power with this internet machine he'd built, he went and he did Brexit. And then when he did Brexit, I think he was like, why not try an American election? So all of this is all connected. It goes way back. And
so you think that Putin has a hand in England's shit, like fucking up what they're doing with the European Union?
Yes. You know, the day after Brexit, the most Googled thing was, what was Brexit? Because the motherfuckers didn't even know what they were voting for. All they'd seen is memes and propaganda, and they went and they voted. And now Britain has been a mess ever since. They can't even figure out how to leave the Union.
Don't you love Boris Johnson, though, and his hair?
Oh, my God. I saw a funny article I read the other day, and they said Boris Johnson looks like a toilet brush in a suit, and I kind of agree with that.
I like British comedy, and I like British... maybe it stops there.
I like British everything. Comedy, the accent, the culture, how they're grumpy as fuck.
They're not good looking, though.
They're not good looking. Bad teeth.
Overall.
Yeah, bad teeth and hygiene.
Teeth is an inbred thing.
Yeah, but I don't know about that. But I do.
Oh, you never heard that?
I never heard that.
Well, the royal bloodline like to always keep within itself.
Oh,
so
wow.
They're a very old civilization. So kind of why that's happened is inbreeding leads to other physical problems. But once it's stretched out very, very, very thin after generations, you're not having the other problems, but you just might have some other cosmetic problems.
I think the fact that they have a monarchy still is ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
genetic lottery winners. So I was born
I hate
somebody's
them.
son, so I'm like rich forever, and all you people have to pay for me. That's just stupid.
I can go on a 20-minute
It's like
rant.
government-funded reality television. Like
It's
in
awful.
America, we can talk about reality television
awful.
government. But yeah, it's bullshit.
And then what's
There's
even
no
funnier
such
is-
thing as a monarch. That motherfucker is the same person as anybody else that was born, and he deserves zero privilege.
The fact that that society bows to them and still allows it is shameful. And that's why I was a big Nigel Farage fan. He's not exactly a big fan of all that. And then, but what even scares me more is when Americans revel in the royal family.
Oh, and they do.
That upsets
even
me.
American news. Like I
Yes,
watch,
even American news.
They
It's
cover
sad. It's
everything
very
the
sad.
fucking royals do
Oh,
as
it's
if it's
sad.
important. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
We don't have one here for a reason.
Up until recently, the news used to also cover everything the church did. Luckily, we've kind of pulled them out of doing that. It used to be whatever the Pope and the church did, the news would roll out there and do it. But after
We don't like
after
that
they
anymore.
molested like the 50,000th kid, they were like, well, maybe we shouldn't cover these guys.
Well, there's also a concerted effort
you
to
know what I
destroy
do like
religion
before
in
we
this
get
country.
off Britain, which isn't even one of our subjects.
Oh, yeah,
that we've
that's
just gone off on.
we got impeachment.
This is what I like.
Yeah.
I like how they do Parliament. I like how they get up and
Big
they're
Ben
like,
Parliament?
and they like insult each other, and they're like, "Well, what the good gentleman from the right doesn't understand is that he's a fucking idiot."
Right.
You know, it's so good, dude. Just the way they speak and they get up and they like go at each other. I find it to be very effective.
It
you know,
is
they go through a lot
good.
of. The government there seems to be able to talk about things in a fashion that we don't really have available to Americans.
Yeah, they have heavy debate.
Yeah.
And it gets very colorful. I do. I've watched that for entertainment value. So whenever Americans get like that, it's really exciting because we're more civilized, if you can actually believe it. Our politicians are a bunch of fuckers and assholes, but there seems to be a civility more, which other countries
in
don't
America,
have.
everything is hashed out behind closed doors. By the
Right.
time you hit the floor, you already know what you're going to vote on and
Right.
or how that vote's going to go.
You pressured everybody.
But
on
there,
what you
they
wanna
like
do.
roll into Parliament and just start arguing. So I
Yeah.
think that's more real. It's more authentic.
Oh, I think it totally is, and I think that a lot of these people, for whatever reason, wear this on their sleeve more. I think they seem to take it more seriously, and I mean, I know that there's corruption there like anywhere, but I have a feeling that there's way less. There's just not as many huge corporations there like there is here for everybody to be on the take.
Yeah.
So I think there's more people that are genuinely for the people.
Yeah.
I sincerely
we're
believe
in a
that.
capitalistic society,
Right.
and I call it runaway capitalism. We're at the end of the monopoly game. You know, there's hotels on Boardwalk, there's hotels on Park Place, and you're just hoping to land on free parking. And that's where we are. At the end of the monopoly game, one person has all the money. And what you're seeing now is there's few people in the country that have more money than like huge segments of the population. And it's an interesting thing because capitalism is a great engine, but what happens at the end of capitalism when one person is won and they have all the money? Because you know our government is too weak and pathetic to break up these corporations anymore. So that's why I've coined the term runaway capitalism.
Capitalism as a whole is not the problem. The runaway capitalism is, the crony capitalism is, when you're going to now use AI and robots so that you don't have to pay workers anymore. That's a problem. It's scary. When you start to eliminate your middle class, when you don't pay people well, they will revolt. It's not even just about the haves and have-nots anymore. They're going to eliminate the ability to even, you're not going to need people. I mean, that's part of the goal. And that's why when you talk about, and we're going to go off on another subject, why these people want to live forever is they're going to be able to and sit on their money forever and they'll be able to afford it. And
If you have billions of dollars and you have so much stock and your companies are so big that they're making you so much money, why would you want to die? And you have so much money to spend it on, why wouldn't you invest in all sorts of things not to die? And we can have a whole podcast on that.
As a matter of fact, we're going to. So why don't we do this? Let's parlay this.
Deep into
we are going to do a segment of stories, just a good way to advertise this, that is ruthless, ... Not politics. It'll be ruthless, what have you. And we're going to do some deep dives into some other subjects. Let's just get into impeachment because we got the cards here.
Okay, let's go. Let's go into it. So where do you want to
This is
start with
well, it's up.
Let
your
me
alley.
start.
Well,
Okay.
please, because this is what you're hoping for.
Yeah. So here's the deal with this impeachment inquiry that's going on. I understand what the Dems are doing, and they're trying to get organized behind closed doors, and then they're going to come forward and they're going to put all these
in secrecy.
and
Yes,
all these
Adam
witnesses,
Schiff in total secrecy.
all
right?
these witnesses forward. What's interesting to me about it is that Trump has a whole pile of corruption that he's kind of involved in, and this one story seems to me to just be one of a million Trump-type stories where he bends the rules to try to benefit himself, and then he begs or kind of taunts people to do anything about it. And so it's just kind of odd to me that this is the one thing that we've picked up on. But I guess that the Democratic theory on it is that it's understandable by the people. That if a president of the United States goes to another country and he says, we're going to withhold money from you, we're going to withhold military aid from you, and we are also going to withhold a presidential meeting for you unless you investigate this person, my rival, then that is something that is highly unethical. The country is so powerful. If an American president goes to any country, he could do that. And it's just not something that I think most Americans would agree is okay.
Well, here's what happened. Somebody ratted this out. They call it a whistleblower. It's not a whistleblower. It's a leaker. You're supposed to present your whistleblower. The fact that they put Christine Blasey Ford, who did not want to be known at all, and they said, fuck you, you're going out there. We will shove you into the fucking spotlight. We all know she didn't want to, but they're hiding this person who's well more protected than she is. She was a total civilian. This person's a somebody, they say, is also a bit troubling. Please bring the person out so it legitimizes it. I think we're doing a little secrecy. The other portion of this is
well, the person is a CIA employee.
Absolutely, but they're protected. They're using that they're worried about their safety. You're not worried about your safety. But it's very secretive, which I think hurts it. If it has merit, bring it out like you did with her. Show your face. The other thing with the impeachment is do Democrats think, and this is going to be the key, that you can get the Senate to do this? Is this a grandstand? I think you even talked about this death by 1,000 lashes.
Yeah.
Donald Trump's not going anywhere, but if they can do this to destroy him for election time, you agree that's the goal here, because the Senate will not three-quarters.
I agree that was the original goal. But so now there's Fox News polls that are coming out 51, 52% in favor of impeachment.
Surprisingly, yes.
That's on Fox. So as those numbers tick up, the politicians will make their move. And as you see, Pence has already started to separate himself from Trump in this Ukraine thing, and he said he had nothing to do with it, even though it looks like he did.
Right.
So I think that nobody knows how this is going to hash out. Everyone is hedging their bets. All of those Republicans in the Senate, including Mitch McConnell, who has total control over the Senate, have a reason to fuck Trump. And all of them have got to be worried about losing their election. So I think that somehow the Democrats, who fuck everything up, have somehow landed in a good spot right now. Because, one, we go to impeachment and they get rid of him. Okay, that would be great. Two, they don't get rid of him, and then a blue wave pours out because they're so frustrated by the way that the Republicans have been acting, and bang, we hammer them in the next election just like we did in 2018. Obviously, there's a lot of what-haves in there. Everyone's jostling. Trump is throwing up to sell the Washington Hotel to try to get a good look, to try to not be as corrupt.
Right.
There's a lot of things that people are making moves. He also doesn't play by the rules, and you see what Giuliani was up to. So I think that this is a very live situation. It's a very fluid situation, and I don't even think the players inside Washington know how this is going to turn out.
Donnie Deutsch, who I find to be a clown. I used to like Donnie Deutsch before I saw he was such an anti-Trumper, never Trumper, but Donnie Deutsch says in secrecy that the Senate would vote 98-2 if they could secret ballot 98-2 to impeach Trump.
Can you do a secret ballot? That would be genius.
I don't know. I highly doubt it.
That would be fucking genius. But what a bunch of pussies.
It's hard to believe that,
You think that you're a fucking sitting senator. You've made it up to be a senator. You know how powerful a senator is? What is that? It's a long term. You get 6 years?
It's
long
after
term.
President and vice president.
Yeah, you get long term in the Senate. So you're strong enough to be a Senate, and you're going to kowtow, and you need a secret vote to get rid of a criminal president? Give me a break, man. Well, what the hell did you fight your whole life for to be a senator, just to pussy out at the biggest moment?
Well, this is partisan politics.
Cowards.
People got to say. What's going to be interesting is if you're going to go against Trump as a Republican, can you actually hold your seat, or your Republican constituents going to keep you in?
The Republican Party's shattered if Trump goes down, dude. If Trump goes down, it's shattered.
Yeah, I think it's shattered anyways. I think that there is a split. Now there probably are a couple more Republicans. You had your Jeff
traditional
Flake and
Republicans and like Trump Republicans.
Right. Matt Gaetz is a Trump Republican.
He
Devin
is a
Nunes,
Trump
Republican.
I went to college with Matt Gaetz.
Yes, we talked about that.
Total tool.
He is all over
Matt
the news,
Gaetz is a tool.
Matty
It's trending on Twitter. It's trending on Twitter. He is a
People
tool
don't like Matt Gaetz.
only a Florida State guy can be a tool. And I say that as a proud Florida State tool.
Right.
Like the fact that Florida State now has one of us with like our hair and our ego and our attitude this deep into politics is just a sad state of affairs. No one from Florida State should be in Congress. That is just, they shouldn't be that way.
And he's on TV a lot. Like Matt Gaetz is kind of young.
Him.
He's got a good look. Like if
he's
you're
the
a
Jersey Shore of politics.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, I love Matt Gaetz because I think he's got balls.
Of course you love him.
Matt Gaetz is one of our only future presidential hopefuls that can carry the
because he's just
torch.
willing to throw all facts, reason, and sanity right out the window.
No. Recent facts and insanity. Let's talk about this. Actually, let's hold off. More impeachment. What's going on with this? And then we'll take a break. We're going to, after the impeachment talk, and we'll come back on with the 2020 election. Who is this Vindman fellow? What's he's going on?
I
think
Vindman.
He's testifying today.
Do you like? No, Vindman testified yesterday.
Oh, it was yesterday.
And there's another person testifying today.
Okay, yes.
So basically, Vindman is this
Russian fellow, Ukrainian fellow.
Yeah. So he's a colonel, a lieutenant colonel in the army, and the Republicans, after he testified, have gone around saying, "Oh, well, he's a Ukrainian, and
interestingly enough,
yeah, he's attached to them in his home country, and that's why he's doing."
You think that would be odd, though, right?
But here's the thing: he came into America when he was 3 years old.
Right.
So he doesn't know shit about Ukraine. He was
Right.
3 years old. You don't know anything before you're 3. And then he participated in an immigrant documentary at like the Statue of Liberty when he was 3 years old. And then he went on to have a distinguished military career. I'm talking Purple Heart. I'm talking this guy was in battles. He has shrapnel in him from an IUD that blew up that he was there. This is a real soldier.
Has a Purple Heart in Iraq.
When he listened to the Ukraine call and he didn't think it was appropriate. And then he also got the printout that
Do you
the
know
government
why
had.
he didn't?
Oh, but hold on. But he got a printout that the government had of the Ukraine call, and they had edited it, and they had taken out certain things that Trump said.
Right.
And Trump said that it wasn't edited. And so when he went to testify, he not only testified that it wasn't right, he not only testified that it did happen the way that the news has been reported of it, he also testified, which was the shocker, that Trump and them had edited the actual official document to pull out things that Trump had said about the Bidens. So what happens when this guy goes into the public testimony, which will happen next, and he shows up and he's got his Purple Heart and all his military garb on, and he's backed up by 3 or 4 other highly credible people, there's going to start to be some chips in that Trump base, because it's going to be hard to deny all of these distinguished Americans in exchange of supporting a guy who had bone spurs during the Vietnam War.
The optics are bad. The optics are bad. Now, what you didn't research, what we've come to find out, is this guy has a little career in politics as well. Working with Joe Biden. This guy has got a bone to pick with the Russian-Ukrainian situation. So while he may not have lived in Ukraine very long, he has actual great interest in what's going on there. So this isn't a guy from Kentucky that just happened to stumble across this.
Do you think it's wrong that a person who's an ambassador and an accomplished military person and a political leader in America hears a corrupt phone call about his friend Joe Biden, and it's a corrupt phone call that is actually manipulating and bullying his home country into doing something that may not be in their best interest? You don't think that person has a right to stand up?
He can.
I mean, if he's not going to stand up, then when is he going to stand up?
You can leak everything about anything someone may disagree with.
But he didn't leak. He went and testified.
Right. Somebody worked with Adam, and it may not even be him, but somebody's sitting there with Adam Schiff, which we've come to find out. Speaking of lying, Adam Schiff said, my office, he didn't use himself, he said, my office has never met with the whistleblower. And we've come to find out that's not true, that this has been an orchestrated Taylor situation. So it's lying on both sides.
I'm not sure what happened with the Adam Schiff thing, and I know that you guys have really grabbed onto it. I don't know that it's that serious, but it definitely doesn't help the Democrats.
It doesn't help. Well, you had a secret meeting beforehand.
Come on, Schiff. Yeah.
I mean, look at his eyeballs. You don't think this guy's a little shifty?
I like Adam Schiff.
You really
is he
do.
Shifty? His name is Schiff. Of course he's shifty.
This guy's full of Schiff. Look, to put a bow on the impeachment thing, as I always like to say, they definitely are in a lather. They definitely are going to move forward. There will be a vote. I don't know why they're dragging their feet, but there will be a vote.
Because we have to wait. We have to milk this all the way to the election.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Let's talk about this, though. How about this? So forget about Trump and the impeachment. He has limited hands in there. How about the fact that the president's official lawyer, we'll roll right into our boy Rudy Giuliani, or as I like to call him, Rudy Colludi.
We'll go Rudy, and then we'll go to commercial.
Colludi. So you have Rudy Colludi, who has these 2 Ukrainian
Rudy
guys.
Colludi.
Yeah. The name of the Ukrainian guy's company was literally called Fraud Guaranteed. They incorporated in America a company called Fraud Guaranteed, and then they went around making illegal campaign donations on behalf of Rudy Giuliani. Giuliani met with them at Trump Tower right before they were arrested. I think Giuliani has the potential to be in legal trouble himself. We're talking about America's mayor here, guys, going to jail for campaign finance crimes.
Yeah, the Giuliani thing's very scary. Giuliani put himself in the crosshairs by aligning with Trump in a major way. We've seen what's happened with everybody that's touched Trump. There's people legitimately in prison.
If you're a Trump lawyer, you get in trouble.
So this guy's got balls. You know what I mean? Roger Stone's about to face shit. We know Papadopoulos and Flynn and all that. So we know that. Rudy Giuliani's got some balls. He's definitely a man of conviction. What I do find interesting that bothers me is whether I believe all this shit that they're trying to nail him on, because now they're going to find a way to fuck this guy. All right. But what scares me is, as a believer in Rudy and what he's doing, and I'm Team Trump, he's gotten very quiet since this shit's come down, because he was all over the place.
And then there was a phone call that went out to NBC where he was talking about Biden's. He was talking about losing money. It was a butt dial. And they went right to
He
butt dialed an NBC reporter, and he was talking about how he needs $400,000. How is Rudy broke? He's made so much money over the years.
Absolutely.
And he was talking about Joe Biden. And then now we don't know if the butt dial was intentional to get information out that he needs money or what happened.
Right.
But let me take y'all back in history a little bit and explain how this all happened. Trump and Rudy were friends back in the day. Trump was a big New Yorker. Rudy was a big New Yorker. They were good friends back in the day. After being mayor on 9/11, Rudy wanted to be the senator for New York, and he was going to run for Senate, and everyone was sure he would win. out comes Hillary Clinton as the first lady out of the White House. She has her own career ambitions now, and she moves to New York as a carpetbagger, as someone that moves to the state to run for the open seat.
Yeah,
and then she gets in a heated race with Rudy Giuliani, ends up beating Rudy Giuliani, and during that race, all this information came out about Rudy's marriage, and it was destroyed, and this and that. So after that, Rudy had a solid hatred for the Clintons. And so when Trump ran, it gave Rudy this perfect platform to kind of get back at the Clintons.
He
and
does
now
not like them.
I think what's happened is that Rudy has gone too far.
He may well, listen, Rudy, when they wanted to float him for attorney general, he was like, I will go after them. So the whole lock her up movement, part of that was, if Rudy Giuliani runs up in that seat, that could legitimately at least be attempted. Sessions comes in and that all goes bye-bye, and a lot of Trump's base, that was something that was never delivered. Remember, if you remember the campaigns, and Jesse will remember this because he knows what I'm talking about. This was a big reason why Trump got elected. So they dropped that ball a little bit. I don't know why Rudy didn't get that spot either. So he not only lost the Senate thing, he didn't get attorney general
There's
either.
some reason they didn't give him the attorney general. I saw that too. I thought that was interesting that he didn't get it because he was talking about how he was going to get it right after the election.
That was the thought.
And I think that what happened is they had Chris Christie was the
another one,
but he was the manager who was going to manage the transition.
Right.
And so he had picked all these people. And then when they actually won, Jared Kushner came in, kicked Christie out, and changed all the roles. And so that's when those people lost all their stuff. And that was probably the first big mistake that the Trumps made because they should have stuck with that team. But here's the thing. If you arrest Hillary, and she's been cleared on a lot of stuff, you can't just arrest her. That's not enough because you have to have judges on board. You have to be able to convict. And it would have been very hard to arrest Hillary, convict her, put her in jail, and go through all the mechanics of the government. So I don't know that it was realistic that they ever could have put her in jail. Look how hard it is to put Trump in jail, and he's obviously, in my opinion, worse than Hillary ever was.
Yeah, I never thought it would be that easy. Couldn't
even put OJ in jail. People, you think they're going to put Hillary Clinton in jail? Give me a fucking break.
That's a good point. We couldn't even keep OJ in jail, or put him in there for murdering those two people. Listen, we'll cue up the commercials. We took this a little long in our first segment here. That's some of the impeachment talk.
You know who else is on the Giuliani train about getting him? Bolton. Bolton told people
he's
that
like a
Giuliani was doing a drug deal in Ukraine, and watch Bolton pop out and testify. That would be insane.
Well, Bolton's also writing a book.
He's a Fox News guy.
Well,
so if he goes and testifies as a Fox News commentator with a Fox News backing, you're going to lose some support on that one.
Yeah. Jesse, cue up that music, and we'll go to a break here. Rest in peace, Elijah Cummings. That's a little bit of a thing.
I miss
that
you,
happened
Elijah.
Also. And rest in peace, Shepard Smith. Your career is dead like Elijah Cummings is.
Ruthless Politics would like to thank all of our badass sponsors. SFL Media, media for the modern world. Check them out at sfl.media. Video God, the best viral video site online. Check them out at videogod.com. Pure Clear Hemp, premium CBD isolate. Check that out at pureclearhemp.com. And Tall Circuit Technology, home automation experts. Of course, our show's hosted by Space Coast Podcast, and a special thanks to them.
Hey, make sure you check out Space Cowboy Justice with your hosts, Blake Stewart and Paul Daly. We're going to be talking about interesting legal issues in the entertainment industry and everything geek. If you're into Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, comic books, we're talking about it. Coming at you from the Space Coast Podcast Studios.
You're listening to Space Coast Podcast, home of the greatest podcasts on the Space Coast. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or having your own show, email us at spacecoastpodcast@hotmail.com.
Space Coast Podcast.
Talk hard!
All right. It is Ruthless Politics. Season number 2, episode 11.
11.
Space Coast Podcast Studios, Jesse on the knobs. Kid Chronic and Trees, here we go.
So, Trees, let me ask you this one
Yes,
real
sir.
quick. Did you see the World Series where Trump was booed?
I did not see it live. I heard about it.
So, basically,
I
he
was
came
very
out,
upset.
he put a jersey over his suit. which was interesting to throw the ball out. It's just weird to put a jersey
Take
over
the
suit.
suit
I've
off.
never seen that before.
Yeah.
So he put a jersey over the suit. He
Take
comes
the
out,
jacket
tried
off.
real hard, threw a decent ball, and they booed him and chanted, "Lock him up."
They did. I don't think the whole audience did, which it's being embellished. The fact that it happened at all is definitely shitty. The fact that it happened after the Baghdadi situation is shittier, which we're going to also get into, and the amazing, strange spin that's taken. Trump was booed, and so that's where we're at, folks. Some people don't like this guy. He happened to be, I think it was in Washington, or was it in Houston? I think it was at Nationals. Not a good look.
But don't you think it's also like kind of emblematic of like what the Trump family's life is going to be like from now on? Because you have to think.
Well, I agree.
These are New York City folks. They like to be in New York City. They like to be in L.A.
Yeah,
they like to
in
be
all places where people
They
hate
like to
them.
be in London. They want to be in the hot spots. And all those hot spots, they're fucking hated.
Yeah.
People hate them. So what are they going to do? Spend the rest of their life in Arkansas?
No, but you make an interesting point. Where they're strongest, they don't be there.
Dude, Trump wouldn't even pull his limo over to take a piss in the yard of one of his voters. He never stepped foot in their state.
He'll
drop the jet down and say, "Hey, dummies, vote for me. I'm white too. Peace." That's it. You don't give a fuck about those areas.
I could say that there's a good chance.
He only hangs out in liberal strongholds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
where's
South
Mar-a-Lago?
Florida,
Mar-a-Lago,
West Palm
right
Beach.
in the middle of a liberal stronghold.
Manhattan, West Palm Beach.
Yep.
No, I get it. It's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
It's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
I've always felt that.
And, his whole business is going to be a problem unless rednecks are going to start golfing at $1,000 a round. I mean, who's going to go to his courses?
Well, like I said, and please, if anybody tied to Trump is listening, TNN, Trump News Network, you start and launch your own thing. You destroy Fox. You become the antithesis to CNN and MSNBC. And you put in all of those young right-wing guys, your Gavin McInnes, your Steven Crowders, your Charlie Kirks, whatever, and all this, and give a platform. Your Milo Yiannopoulos is like the fucking head of the whole network.
I actually like
He's
Milo.
broke, by the way.
Of course
Sad.
He's broke, dude. I used
So
to follow
sad.
Milo on Instagram. He's so insignificant. I don't even follow him anymore.
Yeah.
But when he got his like $1 million payday for the book, he immediately just was shopping and shopping and shopping. And I was thinking to myself, $1 million does not go that far.
No.
And then our assistant Chelsea worked at one of his parties in Miami.
Yeah,
and he was carried in by like these other like male models.
Yeah,
in, like
it's
a
like
big
so
chair.
decadent.
Yeah, so he's like spending $10,000 on house parties and shit.
Yeah,
the guy's
like
a
very silly.
financial fool.
Very, very, very silly. All right, 2020 candidates. There's been a lot of shifts since we were last in studio here. Joe Biden slipping and slipping and slipping away. Elizabeth Warren gaining traction. Let me just say this before you chime in. The Democrats seem nervous. Biden was supposed to be propped up as the guy. It looks like that very well might not happen as he keeps slipping away. It's really getting closer. Warren seems unelectable. And if you watch old episodes of our shows, we talked about Warren was going to be possibly the nominee. We've been saying that. It seems like that's very likely, but there's no way she can beat Trump.
Okay.
What do you think of what's happening with these top two?
Okay. Biden is dead, y'all. Just admit it. Biden is dead in the water, man. This guy is going nowhere. But he's been a nice, effective lightning rod at the top of the party to keep our other candidates clean. So I'm cool
true.
with that. But he was never my choice. He was
Except
never going to
Tulsi
make
Gabbard.
it. And let me tell you something else. His son, Hunter, or whatever, yeah, he's cool, and I don't mind the guy, but it is a bullshit. If you're the vice president's son, you shouldn't be getting $50,000, $60,000 a month or a week or whatever it was from a Ukrainian company. I mean, this kid has no talent
So you agree with
whatsoever,
that?
and he's making more money than people like me who own big corporations, or not big, but who own decent-sized corporations are doing. So it's totally corrupt. So
You're not making a living because of your
and
daddy's
then the fact that
last
he's
name.
dating the other son's wife is just bizarre. So
Right.
one son dies and you start dating the wife. So I just think that the
Of cancer.
Bidens are a freaking nightmare. So we got to push them off. And then you have E. Warren. Okay, so we could talk about Elizabeth Warren. She has the plans. She would be a great president, but the stock market might revolt against her. Big business might revolt against her. Is Trump going to call her Pocahontas during the election? I mean, probably. So there's some weird things there that are interesting. I
She
do agree
seems
with.
to lie a little
but here's
bit,
the thing.
embellish.
The number 2 right now is Pete Buttigieg. Now, is America ready?
He's the 3, though.
He's 2 in some polls now in Iowa.
Really?
In the Iowa, where it's
Well,
pretty
he
important.
might win Iowa.
Yeah, in Iowa, he's number 2. In
Go ahead.
Iowa,
I was gonna mention that.
Iowa's no liberal stronghold. I mean, that could go either
They
way
go
in Iowa.
well.
Yeah.
You know, Ted Cruz won Iowa.
Yeah, you can go
which
either
was
way.
already a curveball.
Right.
It was not supposed to be Ted Cruz that won that. They thought Jeb Bush and Owen. Trump finishes 2 in Iowa, sets him off. That he knew then. Holy shit, I'm in this. Wins New Hampshire. I believe you that Buttigieg is probably going to win Iowa.
So here's the thing. First, I'm like, is America ready for a first gentleman? And my immediate response is,
No.
hell no. America's not ready for a first
Heartland
gentleman.
will not do
Two
it.
guys in the White House, America
Never.
would freaking lose it. You know,
Do they make out in their campaign
dude, the parties
ads?
at the White House would be great, though. I
I'm
mean,
so sure.
it would be amazing. But here's the thing.
Milo Yiannopoulos will
But
be
then
there.
I thought about it further, and I thought to myself, is there any way that Trump could even feasibly debate a Buttigieg? And you know what? There is no way. I mean, at every turn, Buttigieg would slaughter him. He's a soldier, and he's not afraid to mention he's a soldier, and he's not afraid to mention that Trump is a coward. He's religious, and he's not afraid to mention that he's religious, and these other people are fake religious. He is smart as a fucking whip. I mean, to see those two go head-to-head, I think Buttigieg would just destroy him. But I don't know if that would be enough to get America to vote for Buttigieg.
Of course not. Winning a debate doesn't mean you're going to put a homosexual as president.
Exactly.
We still haven't had a woman president, so forget it. That
you-
is
I think you could
100% not happening.
You could get a gay president before a woman, and I'll tell you why.
No way.
Women hate each other. So women won't vote for each other. Men are different. If you had a bowling ball
Straight
that had
men
a,
aren't
that had-
voting- gonna
that had
vote for
a
this
penis
guy.
on it, men would vote it into
You think
office
so?
just to make sure that we could win. But women won't vote for another woman. Gays are different. The LGBT community, every single one of them will stand in lines for hours to vote for Buttigieg.
That's
why
true.
That's why you could get an LGBT president long before you
Not
get
enough
a
of
woman
them.
president.
Not
A
enough
woman
of them.
sees a woman going for president, and they're like, no, she
some,
doesn't deserve it.
Some are catty.
Yeah.
Some are catty.
And then some
but
have their husbands'
some are all
politics.
about that ceiling, man, and that's the only reason they're
I've
gonna
had
vote for
women
them.
talk to me about how a woman wouldn't be a good president. I think we're too emotional. We think that. And I'm like, imagine living
Possibly.
in a society where you've been programmed to believe that you couldn't do something because of like your own genetics or something. It's just bizarre. But women have a lot of hurdles. 200 years they haven't had a president. 200 years, folks.
Well, some of it was being held back, and we made a lot of progress. I mean, women had
They can't
a lot of
organize.
rights. but the bottom line is I think that anything fringe outside of white male, black male, white female, black female, more than likely, everything else is fringe of that. Jewish president, gay president, Martian president, whatever you want to call it, black woman president, even might be the toughest of all of them.
No, because Michelle Obama could do it.
She's the only one.
Yeah,
she's
could
the
do
only
it.
one. And by the way, so on a side note, so he brings up Michelle Obama. This is how weak your Democratic candidates stand right now. They did a poll. If Michelle Obama threw her hat in right now, she leads in the polling. Fucking think about that. Joe Biden's so weak. Your candidates are so weak that Michelle Obama would win right now. And
Because everyone
that's
loves
pretty
Michelle
nuts.
Obama, dude. There's nothing to dislike about her. She is
Maybe
quiet.
so.
She's professional. She runs a good family. She's a Harvard-educated
Should
lawyer.
she be at the top of the polls?
The reason is because there's an infatuation. They want her to run, and she won't run, and she probably will
Sure.
never run. So she gets a lot of benefits because she will actually never run, so nobody attacks her. They all just say, yeah, she's great, because she's not really a competitor since she won't run.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the theory is that she might, after Trump wins re-election, which he will, I believe a Democrat will win the next election. I think, as we talked about many times on the show, we ping pong parties. She has a shot there if she wants to do it. Buttigieg has a shot there. Hillary Clinton might even run then, because I
Buttigieg-
think Hillary Clinton's going to run in this election. And you've heard me say it before. Everybody go back and look. We talked about this. You're seeing it now more and more since we've been off. She made comments on Twitter like, don't tempt me. Or, hey, I beat you before. She was at the selling a book. And she's with Chelsea. And she's like, hey, I beat you before. I'll beat you again. She's floating the idea. And this will lead right into. So I want you to comment on, first, Hillary Clinton and whether you think she might come in like week one, like in NFL football, skip the preseason. And what's with her and fucking picking on Tulsi Gabbard? And why is Tulsi Gabbard a Russian asset? Why is that being alluded to? Why are you destroying someone who's at 1% in the polls?
Well, because she is a Russian asset. Probably.
Okay.
So
talk about Hillary Clinton and Tulsi
Okay, so
Gabbard.
here's the deal. If Hillary Clinton wants to run, I'm all for it. I was always a big Hillary Clinton fan. The Clintons are a powerhouse, and Bill Clinton lost the governorship in Arkansas, and then he came back and he won it back. So they're comeback artists, and I think she would be no holds barred. I think she would take it right to Trump this time, and I think she would probably do it right, and I think they would spend big money, and they would raise big money to beat Trump.
She raised double what Trump did and
That
lost.
being said, Bill Maher recently said that they should stay out of it. Bill Clinton is getting older. He's not the asset he used to be. She's been out of the game a little bit too. And they've taken so much bad media that they are a little bit tainted. And I'll tell you what, that Epstein thing doesn't help much neither.
Nope.
So it may be a simple case that Bill Clinton, honestly, with his sexual problems, not sexual problems, but his perversions, have killed her chance of ever being president. She could only go so far attached to him because as Bill got older, his reputation got worse and worse.
Some people felt that
Yeah.
hurt her in the last
And then
run.
the women didn't want to vote for her because they didn't like that she stayed with Bill after he cheated.
Yeah, there's
so
a segment.
she lost a segment of powerful women
Absolutely.
there. Independent women didn't want to deal
Not
with that.
everyone's into the stand by your man shit.
No, they weren't cool with that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that Hillary is the answer we need, but I also agree with
Is
you.
she the only one that can get Trump out of office?
We're reaching for stars. I got another one for you. What do you think about Tom Steyer? Tom Steyer,
People
smart,
don't know him enough.
He's a businessman, and he's been for impeaching Trump from the get-go.
Yes, he has.
And he seems to say the
Lot
right
of money
things
behind it.
at the right time. I think a Tom Steyer, if the country could open up their ears and actually listen to him, they might get behind a guy like that.
Well, I think that
He's
Andrew
like a Ross
Yang,
Perot.
Absolutely, but he's not doing enough to get his name known. He's got interesting points. If you hate Trump, he's right there with you.
Yep.
And he supports that full-heartedly. And you're right. He's been putting literally money out of his pocket to get this guy to fucking office.
Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard are the same. Do you realize that? Because
Very similar.
If Andrew Yang is really liked by the Trump voters. So if Andrew Yang
Yes.
runs as an independent, Trump loses. Tulsi Gabbard is liked by the Democrats. So if Tulsi runs as an independent, the Democrats lose. And so there is an independent play there. I'm almost of the point at this point, I don't think they should let independents run in the general election. If you're not from a major party,
Really?
I don't think so. Because they taint the election. They'd swing because there's a
swing it.
popular person that would usually win, and then you bring in a third-party candidate. That
has
third-party
an
candidate
effect.
can just take off just enough votes in key states to make you lose.
Well,
And
that's
so-
how Bill Clinton got
Yeah,
in.
and so that's bullshit. You shouldn't be able to run these people that are going to just affect the election like that and have no real chance. I don't know that that's good for the country overall. Now, the reason that people think Tulsi is a Russian, if I can go into that, is because she was back
And
in-
Hillary Clinton pushed this narrative.
She was going to those Russian parties before. So you know how like Michael Flynn was going to Russia and doing stuff, and everyone's like, what's going on there?
Who
And
doesn't want to go to a Russian party?
Well, yeah, so Tulsi was doing it too. And then there's all these Russian pages and Russian bots that are pushing Tulsi and trying to push her also to do a third-party run.
Here's
so
something
it's
interesting.
pretty easy for our government to track that.
These bots aren't doing very well. She's polling at 1%.
Oh, I know. Well, the social medias have done a lot to take bots down. And my company, we run bots, and our bots are in the shitter right now because there's heavy bot defense going on out there.
Yeah.
So I don't think the bots have the influence they used to. And you see, even like with this Ukraine thing that Trump was trying to put together, the CIA and the FBI are so deep in this election and so up Trump's ass that nobody's going to get away with shit this election. So
would think not.
The social media platforms are on their best behavior. The candidates are, under the eye of the law. And this is going to be a real tight election. And if anybody does anything weird, they're going to get arrested.
Right. Well, again, and this is how you can fix voting. And I always point this out. So I have a receipt here. You can see up here. And this receipt has every single thing that I bought at the store. It has the address, the every bit of information, every single thing about the credit card, the time, everything. I get this itemized thing for something that means absolutely nothing. But when we vote in this country, we don't get one of these. We get no proof of what we've done. The most important thing you can do as an American, and we talked about this before, whether it's Ukraine doing it, votes are getting manipulated. It's very shameful.
It should be more public. Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Yeah.
And so you should almost vote, and there should be a receipt, and then all of our votes should
Proof
be
of a
online,
vote.
under like a small portion of our social security number, whatever, so that any layperson or any outside organization can count the votes if they want to.
Absolutely. There should be a way to
Yeah.
do that. I don't believe Tulsi Gabbard's a Russian asset. I think it's very crazy to start insinuate that about everyone across the board. I just don't see what Russia's interest in her would be, or what she's actually undermining here.
Well, Russia has a lot of interest in her. She's a presidential candidate.
But she's polling at 1%. Like, she doesn't even have a shot.
Yeah, but if she runs as a third party, she could give Trump the election.
I don't know if she's even thinking of that, and I don't know if Yang's thinking of that. And you're right; it could sway a lot of things if they do that. We've come to see. I don't know if they're floating that idea. I mean, even Bernie doesn't do that because he knows he has to glom on to even have a shot. And side note, Trump is not a Republican, as we talked about this as well. He hijacked a party. He went more ideally now. He was totally a Democrat his whole life. He's a liberal, New York City guy. So, but he knew when he ran under the Reform Party, he couldn't get any traction, and they couldn't support him. He needed the backing of the party. So he said, I'll be a Republican, and totally stole it. He did it successfully. But if anyone thinks he's really a Republican, he's not. We know that. He's not a Bible
rolled
thumper.
with more Democrats
But
than
that's
he has
why
with
he
Republicans
won.
in his life. He
100%.
hangs out with a lot of
100%.
Democrats, and he's donated
People
to
should
a
know
lot
that.
of Democrats. But he has donated to Republicans, too. And like
Right.
Rudy is a staunch
Rudy's one.
Republican. who's
Michael
been a good
Bloomberg
friend
and him
of
got
his.
along,
Yeah,
I'm
he's
sure.
had his Republican friends, too.
Yeah. Oh, he played both sides.
One thing you got to give it to Trump
But
is
he's a Democrat.
he's got his fingers into everything. over the years. Like, he has hobnobbed, he has done dirt, he has done good things. He's been involved with charities, he's been involved with scam businesses, he's been involved with good businesses. Like, I mean, this guy's had a life.
Listen,
he's had a fucking life.
I don't understand why people knock failed business attempts. Entrepreneurs always fail.
Oh, for sure.
So the guy tried to float steaks because he knows Omaha Steak sells a whole fucking bunch of these and made up fucking millions of dollars. So he tried it. He tried an airline. So did fucking Hooters. You know what I mean? It's what people do. They try this shit. Yeah, you throw it on the wall and sticks. Look, he plays dumb. He's not as dumb as people think. I think he's childish. I think he's very simple. I don't think he's dumb. I don't think you can accomplish what he did.
I make
being
a little
dumb.
bit different twist on it. I think he is dumb, but he's experienced. So he doesn't know a lot about the world. He doesn't understand the ins and outs of like pulling troops out of Syria or different things like that.
Right.
Because he just doesn't really care. He's a guy that is about his ego, you know. So he's probably spent his life chasing women and going to restaurants and buying things and doing business and whatever. And he hasn't put a lot of time into like historical reading or thinking or keeping up with the news. He's very a surface reader, if you will.
Probably don't know that much about Syria.
He's been in business for a goddamn long time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's lost a lot of money and he's made a lot of money.
Sure.
And that kind of experience is worth its weight in gold. And that's what keeps him afloat. He knows how to manipulate the media too. He has a shit ton of experience manipulating media. He's been doing that his whole life.
Remember, everyone loved him till he ran for politics. Remember that?
When he was a Howard Stern guest, he was great. We loved him as a Howard Stern.
The rappers rapped about him. Hollywood loved him. The Clintons, he was at their fucking wedding.
Yeah, but that's because the presidency is supposed to be reserved for honorable men. And he's a dishonorable man, and he shouldn't be in that office, and that was a bridge too far for his ego, and he shouldn't have done it.
You can make a case that he is not the most honorable man. He is not a polished, slimy Joe Biden, 50 years manipulating the system fucking motherfucker.
But that's different, though,
But
because
we
those
like his
guys have
policies.
an interest. So if you have a vested interest to get into politics, if you're fighting for someone or something, which I believe Joe Biden is, though he's probably made many mistakes.
Like what, putting people in jail with mandatory minimums?
Trump's not fighting for anybody but himself. That's all he cares about.
I don't believe that.
Trump doesn't have a banner or a cause. He doesn't really give a fuck. You know
America.
Oh, please.
That's why you're making America great again.
If you really wanted to make America great again, he would reform immigration and things that really made America great.
We should do that.
I got a guy that came to my pool the other day.
How about the Democrats ain't doing that either, right?
Detection test. He must have been an immigrant, I'm assuming. He seemed a foreigner. He spoke broken English. This guy, it's cold out. He jumps in my pool in a wetsuit, goes around, does this leak detection thing, charges me next to nothing. And I thought to myself, would an American ever do this job? Would an American jump in my cold pool in winter and go around and do a leak detection test? No, I don't think they would. And so if you really care about America, then you care about immigration because you need those immigrants to fuel the economy.
Oh, make immigration easier by all means. And you could how about we make an agreement? And this is what we should, and this is why we have a problem in this country where everyone should agree on this. Completely stop illegal immigration the best you can, whether it's a wall, whatever. Stop it immediately. It is a problem. Let's agree with that, which we can't do. And immediately fix the legal system, make it cheaper, make it shorter, and find a way to vet where we know you're not an MS-13 and you're that guy who will get in that pool.
Well,
and by all means, bring them in.
And
I have no problem with that.
And what about probation? We use probation on Americans all the time for doing the slightest thing. Kid smokes a joint, slap him on probation for 2 years. Now he's got prison hanging over his head. How about probation for immigrants?
Mm-hmm.
So come to this country, be good for 2-3 years, be a participant, have a job, pay your taxes, you're good. Guess what? Don't pay your taxes, commit a couple crimes, get
100%.
a couple DWIs, get the fuck out.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. That should be streamlined. When Trump even threw out the term merit-based, I thought that was fair. Now, who determines the merits, I don't know. We can hash that out.
I'm going to surprise you on that. I think merit-based is fair, too. Our whole economy is based on merit-based.
This is kind of a lottery situation, right?
Why wouldn't we do merit-based? If I want to come to America, I should have to have some sort of talent or something. There's a lot of people in the world or whatever, and that's how we should be able bringing in, computer engineers, coders, doctors.
Don't you want the best of the best?
If you have some talent or skill, then you should be on the hot list to get in the country over like somebody who doesn't have any skills.
How about this? We do that with lungs and hearts and kidney
transplants. But now you should still bring in regular people, too. There has to be a segment of regular
100%.
people that's allotted. But doctors and talented people should get preference.
All regular folks should have a shot, and we should streamline it. If you're not a criminal, you want to raise a family, you're willing to play by the rules, learn some of the shit, which most Americans don't even know. My mother-in-law, Filipino immigrant, had to do it. My brother-in-law, Brazilian immigrant, had to do it. I have two people directly involved in my life that did it the legal way and paid money to do this.
My family came in through Ellis Island.
So
they
same
did the
theory.
legal way.
It can be done. Make it easier. But by all means, stop saying everyone should be allowed or entitled to be here. You're not. You even use the term, this is a lottery. You got the birth lottery when you're born in the United
You do.
States.
You get
it
the birth
really
lottery.
is. We
Genetic
shouldn't be
lottery.
able to say that every fucking place in the world should just be able to come here willy-nilly when, in fact, you can't do that anywhere else. Now, if the whole
can agree
world
with
was
that.
doing that,
Yeah.
I would look at it differently.
Yep.
When no one else is doing that, let's be pragmatic and
I,
practical here.
I can agree with that. And the other thing that I have a little bit of beef with on immigration is I don't think you should be able to come here, go to college, and leave after. If you come here to go to college,
Certainly not.
then you need to stay. I mean, we can't force you
You're
to
gonna
stay.
carpet
but
ban
you,
our colleges?
You have to become a citizen. We shouldn't just be educating people and then sending them back.
Fuck no.
That's not a good thing. So I don't like carpet bag colleging.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. Like, well, he's got his little green card to go to college for 4 years. No, fuck that. If you're going to let him go to college here for 4 years, then we should have a process to make him a citizen so that after we educate him, he stays.
There's nothing wrong with streamlining this. But this is something the Democrats aren't doing either. You know why? Because they're so bent on giving everything to illegals and so bent on worrying about that. It's now a crime to even call someone an illegal alien. That's going to be a fucking crime. Imagine that.
And listen to me, Democrats, on this one. That is the biggest mistake. Democrats thought that Spanish people, which is a growing population, and immigrants, and immigrants in general, would vote for us if we supported illegal immigration. But when I talked to my Italian family that came in from Ellis Island, they hate illegal immigration because they did it the right way. So illegal immigrants can't vote. Legal immigrants can. So when you support illegal immigration, you piss off the legal immigrants, actually, and it backfires on you. And it's also indefensible in these debates.
When you are the same person that gets mad that someone cut you in line at the water fountain when you were a child, when you're the same person who gets mad that someone cut you in front of a green light, when you're the same person that someone cut you in front of the line at the movies, and you want illegals in here cutting the line in front of good people, go fuck yourself. Let's go to a break.
On that note.
Hey, I'm Vinny with the all-new Vinny Marino podcast. I want you to join me every other Monday as we tackle all the craziest headlines from around Florida and truly explore and uncover what's missing. Also, we will invite the exciting guests from our community who have seen it all and aren't afraid to spill the beans about it. And finally, we can't forget about Vinny's top 3 rants and raves about traffic, restaurants, and events. Join us on Facebook as we go live and bring you behind the scenes of each show and let you be a part of it. The Vinny Marino Podcast, all Space Coast, super raw and unedited, straight to your dome all the time, live from the Space Coast Podcast Studios. Listen everywhere you find podcasts.
Steven,
Why, yes, Christopher.
what are you doing?
I am scribing down some ideas for the next podcast of the Black Dog Confessional.
Oh, Mitzi had spoke of that. She said it is rather wonderful.
Well, you know, we tried to succeed, Christopher. We tried to succeed. We're talking about all the proper etiquette techniques that we can this week.
Do you think everyone is listening?
I definitely believe so, Christopher.
Well, if they're not, they better get on their game!
Ruthless Politics would like to thank all of our badass sponsors. SFL Media, media for the modern world. Check them out at sfl.media. Video God, the best viral video site online. Check them out at videogod.com. Pure Clear Hemp, premium CBD isolate. Check that out at pureclearhemp.com. And Tall Circuit Technology, home automation experts. Of course, our show's hosted by Space Coast Podcast, and a special thanks to them.
All right. The riffs are going. Introducing you back. Ruthless Politics, Season 2. We did 10 episodes.
Woo, woo.
Season 1, we're in episode number 11.
I can't believe we have Season 2. We've been renewed.
It's amazing, yeah.
It must be crazy.
We took a little time off. We
People
got our
must
balls
be really
fixed.
bored.
I drained my balls. He drained his balls. And we're back. It's not just about politics, folks. Sometimes you need to take care of your health, and politics takes a back seat. But we are back. We're on the air. We've got about 10 minutes left. We're going to touch on 2 more topics. We're going to talk about
one of my favorite new topics.
This is the salacious. We're going to get a little to the fun part, and then we're going to get to the macabre. Because he's not your daddy. He's not my daddy. He's al-baghdadi. He's dead. But before we get into the dead Baghdadi, let's talk about the girl that, well, she got revenge porn from her daddy, apparently. Katie Hill. Who's Katie Hill?
Katie Hill is a Democratic congresswoman. She won in a Trump district, so she's a district flipper, which makes her pretty important to us. And
is that so?
Yeah.
She's in California, though,
Yeah,
no?
but she's in Northern Cal.
Oh, okay. A little more
Trump
little
country
more
out
red.
there.
Okay.
Yeah. And so basically,
Bitch.
yeah. So interestingly enough, I guess that she has how can I put this? She has an avid sex life. And so basically, she was hooking up with
promiscuous,
hooking up with multiple
polyamorous
staffers. And one of the staffers, she was involved in a relationship that they called a throuple, which is three people in a relationship together.
Yeah, it's a new Ben and Jerry's flavor.
Try to talk your girlfriend into that one, fellas. See how
they're going to change. They're actually going to change Neapolitan to a throuple.
So she's in a throuple with this one girl, and then she starts like banging her like legislative director.
Yeah.
And I guess they like started a new relationship, and the husband is mad, so he puts out the revenge porn and puts out all this information about her. And she kowtows and she resigns, which is bullshit. I don't know why you would resign, Katie Hill. So freaking Republicans would stay in office way past this.
She didn't stick it out long.
She didn't stick it out. She's
Not
a total
long at
pussy. It makes me wonder what else they may know or have about her.
Well, yeah, it would make you think. So to add to this, Katie Hill not only had her little throuple, which I hate that word, but it's definitely trending. It's a big thing. But she also got busted. The pictures really hurt her because it wasn't just hearsay. This was now actual evidence. And she's got a case now for revenge porn that'll be very interesting because her husband did out her. Somebody got some pictures. I think it's called Red State. So Red State is a Republican-leaning blog site. And then Britain then published them as well. They love this shit.
Well, Britain
so the Daily Mail posted this
Britain
as well.
protects their sleazy media a lot, so it's a great place for sleazy media.
It's the big tabloid sleaze.
But that Red State website is going to be in a ton of shit. California has a heavy duty.
Well, they're going to get sued.
They have a heavy duty revenge porn law in the books in California. California is a very liberal state.
This isn't over yet. Yeah, this isn't over yet for her. But what's that? Cat's out of the bag. What we did discover about her is not only does she get down with chicks and guys. Kid Chronic believes that she's probably a 7 or lower. Wouldn't hit that. Wouldn't hit that.
Not a 7. She's a 5.
Yeah, so she's a 5.
Sorry. I don't mean to judge people on the air. She's a 5.
She's a 5. But one man's 5 is another man's 7, right?
Yeah.
So God bless her.
She's a Matt Gaetz 7.
She's a Matt Gaetz 7. So the bottom line is that what we also discovered about her is she loves hitting the binger.
Yeah.
And that she's got this Iron Cross. Now, I never found that the Iron Cross was too controversial, like a swastika, but some people do. And she's got one right by her vajayjay, which is very fascinating. It's small. No one's asking her about her, her Reichstag heritage or whatnot, because her last name wouldn't indicate anything that's German or whatnot. But she does have an Iron Cross, and some people found that offensive. So you got the sex, the throuple, the bisexuality, the whole thing, and it was an ethics probe. And
I thought
should we be prying into her personal life?
No, you shouldn't be in politicians' personal life. It's so stupid. It's so bullshit. It's so playing into the media, and it's too much media power. Because guess what? If you're a plumber and you cheat on your wife, you don't lose your fucking job.
Absolutely.
If you're a doctor and you have a throuple, you don't lose your fucking job. If you're a lawyer and you hook up with a staffer, you don't lose your fucking job. So I just think that is total bullshit that we do that to politicians. I think it hurts our system greatly, and I think it started with Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, and they should leave it alone. I liked it better when the presidents were pimps. The country ran better.
Yeah, well, that's why Donald Trump already told you he grabs them.
Well,
you
have
not
like
one.
that. I'm not
You
JFK.
like
I'm talking about pimp with class. Classy pimp.
With class.
But no, I guess
Marilyn Monroe type.
all of that's bad. Sex needs to get out of politics. Sex needs to get out of the workplace. And on top of that, they also shouldn't be investigating it and all of that stuff. But I don't really believe that she had any real reason to resign other than I guess she's embarrassed. But liberals are supposed to be for free sex and LGBT stuff and
staying in Syria,
modern relationships and different things. So what is the real problem here with what she's done? She's fun or she's interesting. She's not a bore in a suit, so she has to go.
Well, this is the future of our politics. As younger and younger people will get involved, and
so we're saying that hoes can't be in politics.
We're saying that maybe
no
we're
sluts
not
allowed
ready for
on the Capitol Hill.
We don't want Pete Buttigieg making out with his boyfriend on in the White House.
See, no, that's bullshit though,
and we
because
don't
Pete
want
Buttigieg is
thrupples.
probably faithful to his boyfriend.
I would believe so,
Shouldn't
which
you
is
like
very hard
that
to believe, isn't it?
Shouldn't you like that traditional
You've
relationship
lived around Wilton Manors.
over the thruple?
You would think so.
You would think so.
No, see there. No,
but
wait,
there's
hold on.
more ickiness about it for some
Now,
people.
That makes for a good Twitter poll. Are you, and you only red states only, because this is really tough for them. Are you more in favor of a loyal gay relationship or a heterosexual debaucherous thruples have sex with anything you want?
What are you more uncomfortable
as long as it's
with?
heterosexual?
Tell us, you right-wing Christians.
I would love to know that. Yeah, that's
that'd
a good,
break a real sweat trying to decide that one.
Your Bible's gonna catch on fire thinking about it.
Yes.
No, but it's a
I need
what a
to
dilemma.
I need to pray on this.
What a moral dilemma. While I don't want to see these two queers kissing, I don't like that other debauchery neither.
I'm gonna have to light a candle down at the church.
Yeah, this is quite interesting. What a conundrum. But here's something you didn't know in your notes, because I think this came out and broke after we decided to go over these topics. Guess who's going to run for her seat?
Oh man, what's his name? I did read this on the way up here. I read it.
George Papadopoulos.
George Papadopoulos, who has already been arrested, has already pled guilty, and then has
Did a
already
little
gotten
time.
out of jail,
Did a little
and now
time.
he's going to run for Congress.
How about that?
God, he's a little weasel, and he's always like with like some taller model because he's like famous as like a gangster now.
Oh, his girlfriend, they have her on Fox. She's like a Russian beauty queen.
Of course.
I have no idea. She's
I
been
think
ordered.
Putin is sending these women to control
not?
these men. I think Melania is making the decisions about Trump. And
Could be.
Putin is sending these beautiful women to control these men.
Folks, George Papadopoulos is not a good-looking guy. Okay.
No.
I am an overweight guy. No one needs to tell me. I'm way better looking than George Papadopoulos. This guy's not a good-looking guy. Google his fucking girlfriend and be upset.
When she wears heels, he's probably at her belt level.
Yeah. She is literally like a Natasha. When she went on Fox News, it was like me and George are in love. It is beautiful. Like Rocky IV with the...
I love George ever since the KBGB sent me to be with him.
I have been here since I have been ordered to be here. Yes, I have been here by his side.
Someday
and
I hope to go
orders.
home to Mother Russia.
I'm following orders, and he will be dead in 2 years. No, listen. She's
If he
really
act
out
up,
of
I
his league.
poison him.
Yes, this man will die when we say he will die. No, listen. She's way out of his league. It's amazing, and now he's going to run. And there's all sorts of primary
In this crazy America, he could win. He could win.
Well, you
Why
got
couldn't he?
Ilhan Omar's going to get primary. AOC's
Dude,
going to
if
get
Trump
primary.
has taught
This
us
lady,
anything, nothing about your past or background matters as long as you own it. Well, I don't know. He doesn't really own it. He goes into full denial like a cheating boyfriend.
Right.
Like, oh, how could that be? I would never do that. You know I would never do that. They're lying. You know? He does that whole thing. But
does what he has to do.
yeah, he's proven. You none of that shit matters.
So from Katie Hill, which is fun and jovial and polyamorous and thruple fun.
Call us, Katie. We'd love to have you on the show.
Yes, we would love to. And bring your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Show your Iron Cross like I saw Pat's war wounds. And let's have fun with it. Now we get to a little bit of a more morbid thing. We should have been celebrating this. By the way, the night Trump got booed, coincidentally, was the night this was announced.
Yeah, but he also had to stage a photo after. So they were killing Baghdadi from the Situation Room while Trump was throwing out the first pitch and getting booed. And so after
He watched it in live time, they said.
No, after they realized that, they went into the Situation Room and they took a staged photo. So there's a staged photo. You can see the Trump and the guys are pissed that they're even taking the photo with Trump. And then you can see that it juxtaposed to when Obama was in the war room killing bin Laden and they were all serious and like doing the real work.
Why? All right. So also, all shit aside, this was a bad guy that was killed. If you don't know,
He's
ISIS
a number one of
leader,
ISIS.
yeah,
Number one.
most wanted now after bin Laden being killed. We celebrated in the streets when bin Laden died. Obama got credit. Bush tried to steal some. We know that, whatever, this and that. Obama got the praise. It's one of his crowning achievements in his presidency. No one can take that ever, ever, ever away from him. It will always be mentioned in the history books. Whether you like Trump or not, why couldn't we rally around this? What's really happening? And are we that divided? Is it that fucked?
No.
Well, the media, I mean, and we'll get into what the Washington Post said.
Everybody is happy that al-Baghdadi is dead. There's nobody that's not happy about that.
Are you sure?
Well, except ISIS, right? So there's nobody that's not happy about that. But I think that just the way that Trump does everything opens him up to a lot of criticism. He's very brazen. He's very stuck in his ways. So he'll golf during a Baghdadi shooting, which is really fascinating or he'll go to a baseball game. But it's really fascinating for two reasons. One, if you became president of the United States, guys, right? You're president of the United States. A Ranger team is going to go in and kill the number one of ISIS. What more exciting fucking entertainment do you want? Would you not be there in the war room watching that video, being a part of that? Would you go to a baseball game to throw out a pitch at that moment? I mean, I'm just saying, just as a general human, I think the more interesting thing would be to be actually functioning as the president.
I haven't heard this timeline that you're explaining because then there's a real lie going on. So I got to double check this, but I had heard that he literally watched this live in real time while they had their cameras on doing it. But some of the criticism was they couldn't hear. So one of the knocks was you didn't hear him whimpering or crying or begging for his life or whatever.
Yeah, and then he lied
how
about
he described it.
Yeah.
He didn't hear that. He may have been told that, but apparently there was no audio, which makes sense. They probably didn't have audio. But that being said, he didn't say he heard it. He said that that's what that man did.
Well,
but
what I heard was
that
that the
happened.
photo was staged after in the war room.
Right.
That he wasn't in the war room with
I
him.
have
So maybe
heard
he
that.
watched it somewhere before the game or something.
Right.
But what's also fascinating is, so Baghdadi, when he moved into this new house that he was in, this new like strong house that they were holding him in, he had tunnels underneath the house, and he slept with a suicide jacket.
Yes.
And so when the Rangers came in, he went after a firefight. They had to shoot their way in. So when they shot their way in, he was down in one of the tunnels hiding with two of his children. Three of his children,
Yeah.
and he blew them all up with a suicide vest, which
Yes.
is beyond fucked up.
Yeah. He went out like.
But
how
I
they
don't
would
know
do.
if he would be whimpering, running, and crying at that point because he's in a tunnel. He's probably like,
Well-
da-da-da-da-da. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you
So-
might know you're inevitably done. It's
Well,
over
yeah,
now.
I
mean,
agree. I
He
agree
obviously
that.
liked his life still.
Well, I'm sure everybody likes living until you don't, right?
Yeah.
So
He had children.
Mhm.
There's other kids, I believe, that have
They-
survived.
they-
that
there's
had-
some of them when the Rangers got out there, some of them came out and they were
Yes.
like allowed to like
Yeah,
leave
not all of his children
before
are
the
dead.
firefight and
Yeah.
before all of that happened.
The Washington Post put a very, and this is what I think hurts your side a little bit, man. I think that the apologizing for this guy in any way is so gross, and obviously the Republicans and the right are going to jump on it. But to call him an austere scholar and make very mild reference to his heinous atrocities, and then not even say killed, which he was. I mean, he in a sense he blew himself up or whatever. Suicide, passes away. They really softened it, and I'm not sure why. Is that where we're at with propaganda? Forget who even did it. Why would we
I'm
soften
not sure
that?
about that one. I'm not sure why they did that or why it was written in that tone. It does seem weird because he was a horrible human being.
If you look back,
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who
killed
pushed
gays,
so
he
much
killed women,
propaganda.
killed
He shot
children.
videos
Yeah,
that have
yeah.
inspired tons of terrorism around the world.
Absolutely. A murderer.
And so, yeah, he's a horrible human being. So I don't know why they would soften it. I don't agree with softening it.
Because
I don't
Trump
assume-
got
yeah,
him?
Maybe. I would like
Is
to.
that where we're at?
I would like to think that that's not it. That they had some other reason for doing it, but it's hard to see another reason for
Can't
why
give
they
this guy any
for why
victory,
they would
right?
soften the
I mean,
article.
that's what's
Do you know
happening.
what's fascinating about this thing too? So basically, how they got this guy, they were working this for a long time. They got an informant that was in al-Baghdadi's inner circle in ISIS, and he was in charge of like bringing him house to house and moving family members around for medical treatment and all this stuff. Well, ISIS is such a ruthless organization, they killed one of this guy's family members. And as soon as they killed one of his family members, he went rogue inside the organization and he started talking to the Americans. And prior to this, the Americans had got somebody out of ISIS before, and they took a big meeting with him, and the guy blew up everybody in the meeting. So a lot of high-level American officers and officials were killed in this explosion. So they took a long time vetting this new guy to make sure that he wasn't trying to pull something. And eventually they got to the point where they realized that this guy was legitimate. And then they went through with this operation to kill Baghdadi.
Yeah.
2 days after they killed Baghdadi, this man and his entire family were flown out of there. And they were given, I would assume, some kind of new life in America or
Right.
somewhere else where they're safe. And there was a $25 million bounty on
Had to be,
al-Baghdadi's
yeah.
head. And they're
I remember
talking
Bin
about
Laden had
they're
one.
talking about giving the full $25 million to this guy who was formerly in ISIS.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Sometimes you got to take out the big fish. We're gonna wrap this show up. Baghdadi's dead, and that's a positive thing.
That
Doesn't
is
matter
a
what
positive
anybody
thing.
thinks.
America is
A
winning the
major
war on
terrorist
terrorism,
that
folks.
killed a lot of people. And I think Trump did pull this with the whole Syria talk and the questions about what he was doing in Syria, what he's not doing, what everybody bitching about that and having their things.
He
And
pulled
then
those
this
troops
happened.
out of Syria for Putin.
Yeah,
That was a
all
favor for
25 of them.
Putin.
That's episode number 11. We're also going to go out on this note. We always mention Jeffrey Epstein news when we hear it. And if you can believe it, there is more news today coming out. The autopsy from the doctor that was hired by the family has revealed that this is consistent with a homicide, strangulation, that this was not a suicide. We'll see how that goes.
I don't think that's a big surprise for anyone that Epstein could have been killed. And if you're on the internet at all lately, you see there's a huge clamoring where people think this is bullshit that Epstein was killed. It'll be interesting to see if we ever get some answers to that. It won't be soon. It'd be like before we die or something.
Yeah.
You know?
We had a feeling that this is how it's going to be, but hey, no Ghislaine Maxwell, no French guy, no nothing. everybody. We
Everything
called it.
dies with
Go
him.
watch.
And then a hurricane hits his house, and that's that.
Yeah, it's amazing. We called this. Watch the previous episodes, and you'll see how we said this would just slowly go away. And now we're talking impeachment.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Yes, enjoy. Trick or treat, trunk or treat.